Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Level 1 News. It is October 5th, and we're doing government and robot today, a weird selection of categories. Also, we have packages.
A weird selection of drinks. This is from Hikari Knight, who is in, I think, Norway.
That's really nicely formatted.
It is nice. They've got like a heading in there, and there's
photos.
God,
there's pictures.
And they're full color.
There's pictures and an explanation. We don't have time to get into all this, but this one is for you. This is Norwegian water. It's like, is it
from the high mountains?
I want to know if it's better than Nestle water. I brought a cup, or you can just drink directly from the bottle. And then Grand's Cola is for Krista.
Oh.
I brought a cup. Actually, I want to try some of it. So however you want to do that. And then Solo Super Orange, whatever, which I'm going to chug on this for probably all 3 episodes because my God, look at that.
But here, okay, so Chris and I, while you were doing stuff, we were looking at these. Here's what we want to solve.
Yeah,
this is water,
Euro
right?
tell us what it means.
What is 3 pant? Because all 3 of these are 3 pant.
They all have this little stamp.
But if this is water, that can't be nutritional information, right?
Yeah, because they all say 3.
Maybe that's the environmental point, like you do this and it's like 3 points of damage.
The bottle. It could be the
plastic bottle. Yeah,
that's a good guess.
Actually, let's look around.
You know what's unfortunate today though? I have Nestle ice cubes, but I got Ice Mountain water, so I can't do a. But I know what Nestle tastes like.
Grand's is an old Norwegian brewery known to take chances when experimenting and creating new brews. And he says, Ryan, we all know you like Nestle water, so I have a bottle of Imstal Norwegian origin water from the Rondane. Hopefully you will like it.
Is that a river?
Yes, I believe so. Probably a glacier, melt glacier or something, because it's Norway. Glacier melt water is the best water. I mean, I'm just saying.
It's controversial.
But yes, if you want more, we'll be able to send another parcel next year. Oh yes, no expense was spared in getting this here, let me tell you. But pro tip, these are all plastic bottles. There was no damage. If you send glass, it's pretty much at least one thing is
One's
not going to
be
make
busted, yeah.
So
that is, I think, in terms of all of the boxes sent, this one was the best preparation.
Yes, this is all of you take note who might be doing this. I want to try something. I'll try that before my orange soda because it just, I don't know, something about it.
Smells like.
Oh yeah,
I thought you were just gonna drink it out of the bottle.
Pour it over his head. Here you go, Krista. Here's the other half of that.
It's very fizzy, despite its halfway.
It doesn't taste fizzy though. Like it's not aggressively fizzy.
Now is does that mean grandmother or is that something else?
Trying to keep it away from the mic because it is. You can hear it fizzing.
Let's ASMR.
It's like
it doesn't taste sweet.
I think
it says no sugar added.
Oh, I think it tastes sweet, but it's like you can hear it fizzing, but it tastes kind of flat.
The sweetness is like the sweetness that you get in like the old Diet Pepsi, like whatever they use.
Yeah, it tastes like Diet. That's a good insight.
The fizziness, there's something wrong with the fizziness in this.
There is. I don't know if that is normal or if that's like a product of the shipping.
Do they infuse carbon dioxide? Is it some type of freon? I don't know.
There's the lack of freedom. That's what you. That's
well, the ingredients are all in another language, so.
Yeah.
You can definitely taste the sadness of the people packaging the material. But no, I kind of like it. It's unlike American soda. Like when American soda hits your tongue, I think the word is like nucleate. It like nucleates into huge bubbles.
I love that
immediately. This does not do that.
Yeah, this is like regular liquid.
There's probably a team at the Coke Corporation who've been working on enhancing that for decades. With terrible chemicals.
Well, the nucleation of American drinks is aggressive. Let me tell you. Does anybody want to try the orange?
I'm not super into orange soda, but
Krista, you got to give us more.
I think Wendell was spot on the money. It tastes like diet soda. Like it's regular, but it tastes like diet.
If it tastes like regular, but it doesn't have the diet additives, this would be a good. I would probably actually drink that because I feel like that just because it's from not America, it's probably safer.
Probably. I mean, it's got ingredients, but they're all in another language. So.
What's
aroma? I recognize aroma.
Wow, that is an aggressive orange scent.
Krista, what's your score?
What's the height of? See, I don't drink soda as much anymore, but when I did, I drank
you're
Pepsi.
a Pepsi girl, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that Pepsi is what, an 8?
Yeah, I'd say that. I would give this like a 5 or 6. It's not. I like that aggressive fizz, and this doesn't have that.
And what is the proper venue to enjoy it?
At a restaurant, and they're like, "Is Grand's Cola okay?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'll drink Grand's Cola. I'll take that."
When you jump the gun, you got to give the cola a score.
I'd probably give on the new scale. I'd probably give it about a 5 out of 10. Its saving grace is that it does actually quench your thirst. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind that the fizziness is weird. It's probably distracts from other negative qualities, but I could see how you would just, drink this. I think this is what I imagine the cola would have been like in, say, Cold War 1970 Soviet Russia.
You think?
Yeah. That's what it tastes like.
It's good. I like the packaging. It's one color.
But here's the problem.
Reproduces well.
The marketing on there says ice cold. They can't guarantee that.
It's probably, if you don't drink it ice cold, you're in for a bad time.
It also says no added sugar and then an X. Is the X just a graphic element, or is that sugar X?
Is it Cola X?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, extra taste, no sugar. That's according to the...
Oh, yeah, down here, extra. Yeah. Pour and share.
But it's not EXTRA taste. It's XTRA taste, which means nothing.
No sugar added, but lots of chemicals.
Pour and share. In the U.S., this is just like a single serving.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
And we were also talking about, once again, the Europeans like the long, slender bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we like the fatter, or more
These are
girthy
easier to
bottles.
hold. Like, my little tiny hand can get around this.
Some of it might be automobiles, because I noticed that the cup holders, I used to have that really old car, and the cup holders in it were too small even for drive-through.
Are you rolling with 1.5 liter jugs in your cup holder very often?
They fit now. There's no problems. So I don't know.
Ooh, I should save this bottle and use it as a water bottle on trail, because it's a larger size than a
If it's from
2 liter, but not as thick as a 2 liter.
If it's from a European country, it's probably designed to disintegrate naturally. Probably not
Oh,
a great
yeah,
idea.
maybe not great.
Don't store it in your basement. All right, so now we've got the orange.
It has an aggressive orange scent to make up for a lack of orange flavor.
Just throwing shade at these sodas.
It is a very good orange taste. I wonder if it has any sugar in it. There's not really a way for me to tell, is there? No, there's nothing in it. I don't have any idea what those ingredients
Well,
are.
I recognize protein and salt.
Yeah.
Apple juice,
Oh, carbohydrates. That's probably your sugar, right?
0.5 grams.
Carbohydrate. How much was it?
4 kilocalorie, and then 0.5 grams.
No, carbohydrate. That's the line right there.
0.8.
Per, what's the serving?
100
milliliters. How many?
1.5 liters.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a weird way to denote that, isn't it?
You can have a shot glass of Solo Super.
Is that their version of the getting around the nutritional facts?
I don't know, maybe.
I think so. I don't know how it is in the EU, but like in America, there are very strict rules about how you display nutritional information on packaging. We had a whole section about that in one of my design classes.
Well, if we were regular YouTubers, this would be an entire video by itself. Because everybody's like, 10, 15 minutes.
What are we at?
8.
All right,
8 minutes.
you better throw a score at us.
This is probably like an 8 out of 10 on the new scale.
Wow.
This is
Doesn't really match what you just described.
It's it doesn't have an aggressive orange flavor, but Orange Crush doesn't really either. Like, one of the things I like about Orange Crush is that it's kind of mild. With this, the smell is very aggressive, but then once you taste it, it's much milder. And this tastes somehow much more natural, whereas Orange Crush is a little bit more chemical tasting, let's say.
How much crush you got left?
you
7
rationing
cans. Yes. 7 cans. But I was able to get 1 case locally, so I've gone through 24 cans in 7 days. That's kind of a lot.
You should have like a fire thing with glass, and it's like break in case of emergency. And there's just an Orange Crush can in there.
Oh, although I will say I wasn't by myself in the 24 cans. I had a helper accidentally, an unwitting helper that also likes Orange Crush. It was like, oh, we have Orange Crush again. And so like,
Everyone got excited.
yeah,
And then you didn't have the heart to tell them, no, that's my Orange Crush.
yeah. How was your water?
I haven't tried it yet.
Oh,
Ready? M's Doll. Is that how you think you pronounce that? Emsdal?
It's a 3-syllable river.
Just spits it.
Tastes like bottled water.
Well, you have such aggressive.
What an amazing way to dunk on us. Just be like, no, it's fine.
You have such an aggressive taste though about water. Like you fill your ice thing with Nestle.
There's a little bit of a salt taste, which I don't like in my waters.
It's like Dasani.
Dasani is basically syrupless soda.
In a natrium. I don't think that's what that is. I think that's sodium. 1.1.
This one's like 1 grain of salt per thing.
But you can taste that. That's what Dasani does. It's the wrong thing to do.
Oh, there goes the ambulance. Sorry, guys.
It's way better than Dasani. But it does. See, the thing I like about Nestle is the proprietary blend of minerals. Because really, it's just filtered water, isn't it?
Reverse osmosis water. It's not even filtered, is it?
But I would definitely take this over Deer Park, Kroger, no question, Dasani, Aquafina, all the really bad brands, like the major bottler brands. I would take it over all of those for sure.
How do you feel about Smart Water?
Smart Water is distilled.
Do you like it?
No, you shouldn't be always drinking distilled water. You need minerals. Don't buy into the
12 minutes, a new record for level 1.
I like the bottles, the tall bottles.
We were going to have a Linode sponsorship. We'll save that for Wednesday.
What's that guy's name? We should throw him a shout out.
Hikari Knight.
Thank you.
Thanks. This is awesome.
Yes.
Is that a little bit of a weeb name from Norway?
Yeah, the avatar, probably a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you. I might actually order some more of this if I can get it on Amazon.
Solo Super.
Yeah, this is a perfectly reasonable.
That's not a diet soda.
Oh, right. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
That's just a.
I was like, there's nothing in it. And it's like, oh, there's 1,000 servings.
Wouldn't that be crazy if you could easily get
There's
a
15
Norwegian
servings.
soda over an American one like Crush? Like,
That would be amazing.
yeah. What's happening to the shipping in this world?
Nothing good. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better because the chip shortages just keep happening. We find out more and more these companies that just can't get it done. Some of them are just shutting down. I saw there was another automaker just turn it off for 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, the one in Germany shut it down until 2022.
Oh, that's right, the rest of the year. So what do? Well, Mr. Biden has some
We got a
ideas.
plan.
It kind of seems like this is just really overstepping your bounds, because if these people are stockpiling, is that not their right to do so?
Eh.
Can you really compel me to sell you chips? You shouldn't be able to.
White House weighs invoking the defense law to get chip data. This is like a Wartime Defense Production Act.
Cold War.
I thought it was from World War II. They made the Singer Sewing Machine Company make handguns.
Well, I can't scroll because Bloomberg, but I'm fairly confident it's Cold War.
Okay.
You think?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I always assume it's World War II because that's when we did all the spin up for that.
The article makes it sound like, oh my gosh, the automotive industry is suffering, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's focused on the automotive industry. They are squealing like stuck pigs, but they did this to themselves. Oh, you can't get chips. And it's like, yeah, you should have squeezed your supplier to the point that it was more profitable for them to do other things.
Yeah, but they got a strong lobby, don't they?
They do.
Robocalls have definitely stepped up again. For a while there during the summer, mine went way down. And now they're back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
And there's a new scam. I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes when you pick it up, you'll just catch the very tail end of press 1 to accept. They're third partying you and trying to get you to greenlight some kind of charge.
Ooh.
Which is bad because my way of dealing with those was always just to press 1 and put the phone down. And I waste exactly the same amount of time that they wasted for me, right? Because it rings back to them. But now you can't do that. Well, maybe we'll get some relief, but when you really read into it, no, we won't.
Phone companies must now block carriers that didn't meet the FCC robocall deadline. However, this article is almost entirely about the loopholes that make it not actually like the thing that it describes in the headline. This is the stir and shaken standard that we talked about like a year ago. it's now supposed to be implemented, which is some basic authentication against caller ID spoofing. And yeah,
I can't remember what they called it, but there are certain smaller phone companies that are gateways. Yeah, if you're a gateway for a foreign call to come in, you're exempt from this, which has got to be 90% of them, right?
Right.
So
it also was there was some other kind of exemption that was even more or along the same lines of like, why did we do this? This is so dumb.
It was smaller. If you're under a certain number of subscribers, you get away from it as well.
Oh,
So obviously they'll flock to those, but then you can't be too successful, right? You got to ride that line completely. Huawei is still forbidden from U.S. networks, and we actually, when we made that law, a lot of people brought up and are like, wait a minute, what about the stuff that's already there? A lot of it is already there. That stuff is cheap. We use a lot of it. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to replace it. And I guess they're just going to throw money at that situation.
The U.S. is going to open a program to replace Huawei equipment in U.S. networks. I checked eBay before the newscast, and you can get Hikvision cameras 4K on eBay right now for about $50 each. IP cameras. I expect it to get worse in the coming weeks. It was Hikvision, Dahua, Huawei, and a couple other companies that are on the list. So they're not handing out the money yet, but you can apply for it, and as they get money, it'll be allocated however they determine. Mostly it's for communication equipment, but it also does seem like it's going to apply to camera equipment as well.
It's going to be a lot to do. A lot of, some people would argue, unnecessary work, but who knows? The Chinese are definitely spying on us.
Well, you definitely need to get the Hikvision stuff on eBay now, because eventually they're going to, like, people are going to buy it on eBay and then return it for money, and then buy it on eBay again and return it for money. Maybe not, because this program is mostly for, like, small, medium government offices, but, you know, and then they'll destroy it, which is unfortunate, because then we won't have $50 4K security cameras.
Progress. Well, the FTC, if you recall, during the latter parts of the Trump administration, we had a lot of the FCC under Pi was refusing to do things. And so more and more people were calling on the FTC to do those things. And the FTC was like, guys, we don't do this. Like,
well, we're struggling.
We don't do this.
What's a computer?
It's not our thing. We don't govern this. Why don't you talk to these other people? But now we got Lena Khan and the new guy in there. I can't ever remember his name. And they're like, hardcore, exactly what the Biden administration wants. So more than ever, they're saying, no, guys, listen, this is your new job. And it seems like the old school people in the FTC are just like, what? We already have a bunch of stuff to do. There's a rules laid out about what we should do. None of this is in it. And I'm just like, no, you will do it.
The FTC weighs new online privacy rules. The agency is looking at strengthening rules that govern how digital businesses collect user data. Yes, this is definitely fallout from a Jeep Pie, because the FCC should be doing this. Lord help us.
But FCC is Rosenworcel now, right? Or did they get rid of her? She was interim.
No, she's still there.
Did they choose an actual leader?
I don't think so. Not yet.
I mean, she's in the same camp, isn't she?
Yes. It's going to be a two-pronged attack now.
No, that makes sense.
The lobbyists that, were having Ajit Pai abdicate his responsibilities through confusion. Like, what is it called? Like, this feels like something that happens in Pokemon or something, where it's like you cast confusion and now everyone is confused.
It's super effective.
But it's sort of the opposite, because now the corporations that created that situation in the first place are facing double scrutiny.
But also, when you hit a point where, because some of that Ajit Pai stuff, he was, doing it for the wrong reasons, but he was right. The letter of the law says they shouldn't be involved in that stuff. So now when they hit that and they get pushback, they're like, well, just call the FTC, have them do it.
And the FTC's like, sounds good, more power.
Why not? When that goes wrong in 3 years, when there's another Ajit Pai, because there's going to be a backlash. Maybe it'll take 6 years, who knows? But you're going to get another Ajit Pai in there, and he's going to have an insane level of power. Just think about that. It's never good. Never good. Huawei has also had their CFO trapped in Canada for quite some time.
Fighting extradition to the United States.
3 years. 3 years for the wheels of justice, and they have finally stopped turning.
The U.S. agrees not to pursue fraud charges against the Huawei CFO. Ming Wanzhou pled not guilty in an arrangement that will end her 3-year stay in Canada. But this headline is like the worst headline they could have possibly picked. What actually happened is she agreed to say that all of this stuff happened in exchange for prosecutors dropping the charges against her. All of the stuff that she just said, yes, really happened, is now a huge problem for Huawei.
But she didn't admit guilt. She admitted it happened, but not guilt. There's another layer here. I don't know if that story went into it. You know what else happened because of this?
The Canadian citizens?
A prisoner exchange. That's what this really was. So she got to go back to China, and those Canadians that China was holding since she was trapped in the country. God, those guys were there for 3 years too.
Yes.
What do you think was more comfortable? The Canadian home arrest or the Chinese prison?
Oh, I think we're going to learn. There's a spoiler alert. I think it's in the nonsense section. Maybe not, but there was a human rights lawyer that did not have a good time in China.
You think he's going to leave a bad TripAdvisor review?
Yeah, well, certainly the Canadians have.
So that does resolve that. At least those Canadians get to go home, and she doesn't have to worry anymore, although I don't think she was very worried. Up in space, things are about to heat up because the private space programs they've all sort of proven themselves. They've all made it to space, and now the fighting can really start.
U.S. Space Force has awarded $87.5 million to Rocket Lab, SpaceX, Blue Origin, and ULA for next-gen rocket testing. They basically said, we don't want a headache and lawsuits from any of you here. Have $100 million. Go.
So it's going to be broken up. Everybody's going to have their own job. Blue Origin's going to do the cryogenic fluid management. That's kind of a small portion for them. Also, look at those numbers. How do you feel if you're SpaceX? You're the only one that didn't get 24.3.
SpaceX knows that they don't need that much money to do whatever it is that they're asked to do.
Combustion stability analysis and testing of its Raptor rocket engine. That's just what they're going to be doing anyway.
Yeah, it's free money, basically.
So that's cool. This is part of the whole, idea of build a giant space station and NASA just owns one piece of it. So it can be a universal space station for everybody.
Neat.
But listen, if you dirty up dishes in that space station, you better clean them. Because if not, international incident.
There's just bits of crumbs and food floating around in the space station. It's like, who left this out?
The decomposing food literally is a health hazard, and the astronauts may suffocate.
Well, this is a hell of a story. Yahoo News got a lot of details in this one. There was a lot to give, too. And we kind of already knew that they were doing stuff like this, but the gory details
Not to this level of detail.
Yeah.
They're really disturbing.
Kidnapping. Oh, I lost the headline. This is kidnapping, assassination, and a London shootout inside the CIA's secret, is it really though, war plans against WikiLeaks. And
It was at the time.
Well, yeah, I guess it was at the time. But this is another one of those situations where the conspiracy theorists were saying it was exactly this bad. And it was actually worse. Like, I read this and I read some of the conspiracy theories, and I remember what I was thinking at the time. This is much worse. Much worse. Much darker. And I really think that now that it's come out as truth, because the conspiracy thing existed previously, this will be treated as less of a bombshell than it is. This is, flagrant human rights violations by, quote unquote, first world country. It's deeply disturbing.
Well, we've certainly proven that getting labeled as a conspiracy theory and then being proven true later has no real impact on the narrative.
Yeah.
You can just do that all day long.
That's crazy.
So that's what they do. So it works really well. Now, they talk about Trump, obviously, but this didn't start with Trump. Started with Obama. Trump was all in on it. Trump hated Assange. And Mike Pompeo had a blood rage after the leak. And he, you should read this just to hate Mike Pompeo. What a piece of garbage.
It is deeply disturbing that these people are in power.
And they were
And
all
yet
about
not surprising.
There, a couple of times, they were afraid that if they did certain things that would damage him too much, it might hurt the case. And that's the only reason they didn't do it.
Obviously.
But listen, he broke the law, right? And when you break the law, you get punished. That's just how it works in this country. And you shouldn't think that you're above it, no matter who you are.
131 federal judges broke the law by hearing cases where they had a financial interest. Spoiler alert, nothing is going to happen to these judges. They did actually do the math here. 2/3 of the time, the judge ruled in such a way that it would be for their financial benefit. But this is a situation where judges own stocks in companies as part of their like retirement portfolio. So they could say, well, we didn't really know, but 2/3 of the time, some of them definitely knew.
But sometimes it was just their spouse as well, just like Pelosi. So it could be a situation they're like, well, they were trading and I didn't really know, but you have to know. You have to pay attention to that.
It's kind of your job to know if you have conflicts of interest, right?
I put $500 into that thing that is leaking the Pelosi trades, and it's up 13%.
What, do they have an index fund?
I don't know what. No, it's like he just has the thing, and it's like, oh, they bought this, and I was like, okay, I'll go buy that too, 13%.
Now might be a bad time to be messing around in the stock market.
Probably.
Although hyperinflation will push stocks up. So
How long do you want to push it, though, before you get slapped back?
yeah, you have to worry about the catastrophic failure. Well, what was this one? Oh, the Exascale thing. Is that what this is? Yeah. The Exascale supercomputer in America number 1. We're getting it.
The Advanced Scientific Computing Advisory Committee, ASAC, they held September 29th and 30th, revealed that the Frontier supercomputer is currently being installed at Oak Ridge. So racks and racks and racks and racks and racks and racks of AMD gear have already been delivered. More is on the way, and they've met their goal. This is the one, we talked about this on Level 1 News like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Zen first launched from AMD, and they're delivering. It looks like this is going to be the most efficient supercomputer in the world, too. By the time they get it up and running, it's going to be like 29 megawatts for 1.5 exaflops, and the current record holder is like 20 megawatts for 1 exaflop. So I think we're gonna exceed that in both compute and power efficiency.
We're going to dunk on those communists. I can't wait. Actually, it'd be probably used for evil. Well, Google, the EU continues to come after them. In this case, the EU came after them for a very big number. Usually Google's just like, whatever, we got all the money in the world. But this one, it was just like, oh, I felt that.
You can't do that every year. Come on.
That was a little bit of a Charlie horse right there. I don't like that. So what do they say? Do they say, no, we're innocent? No, they can't say that because they're not innocent. They're super guilty. All they can say is, look over there.
Google, in fight against a record EU fine, slams regulators for ignoring Apple. It's really interesting what the EU has done. They've created this environment where it's basically illegal to do business the way that Google does business. And also a little bit Apple. They're not wrong. And a little bit other companies. Google, yes, has been singled out. But, if they're not allowed to do business there, do you leave completely? Do you just pay the fine and move on?
Well, you definitely don't snitch. You never snitch.
Here in America, we call it regulatory capture. This strikes me as the EU just sort of stumbling and trying to figure out a way to do regulatory capture in a way that it looks like they're being good for their citizens, but it's probably going to be the same result.
The regulators are horrible. Google is horrible. Apple is horrible, but they didn't need to be dragged into this. They have their own problems.
I was really excited for the headline, and I read the story, and I was angry.
To this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
because the headline is the story.
The Germans, well, they had a reason for doing this. Because it turned out that some people did some private investigation, and they were like, yeah, this is definitely phoning home. For sure, this is phoning home. And so the regulators said, all right, we'll look.
German IT security watchdog examines the Xiaomi mobile phone. That's it. That's the story. We've saved you a few minutes. We've wasted so much of your time this episode. Allow us to give some of it back.
They will report whether or not it's phoning home. They're not done yet.
We will report that too.
So it's not that, who was that? Was that
Reuters.
CD? Oh, Reuters. It's not that Reuters left that out. They're not done yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will by.
We saved you from looking at a paywall from Reuters, though.
Yeah, that was one of the stories where I was like, is this some kind of weird paywall? I don't understand. No, it was just 3
there's just
cents.
nothing there, yeah.
Eftpos?
Eftpos.
Eftpos? Terrible name for a company. Jesus Christ. They do digital identity and Australian, which is how you know that this is going to be dystopian AF.
Eftpos granted government accreditation as the first private ID exchange operator. So this is Connect ID for you Australians. Run away. Run far away. Far
can't
away.
Run into the
There is
outback.
no escape.
They're the only one right now.
Well, the government has versions of it. This is the private one, which means it's got extra security. Actually, I
I'm
probably
sure.
would. I'd trust that. Well, wouldn't you trust Microsoft over the federal government? I would.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good choice, but.
It's a good point.
And Russia has these tech companies that start up, and every time they get a good startup going in Russia, they get a bunch of flack, and they're like, all right, we got to go somewhere else. And that's what happened with these guys. Where'd they go to? Singapore?
Singapore, yep.
But Russia was like, we don't know if we like that.
Russian authorities arrest cybersecurity giant group's IB CEO on treason charges. So these guys were criticized in America like last year or the year before. They moved their operation, more than that, more years ago than that. But anyway, they moved their operation to Singapore. It was a big deal. They hired a bunch of people in Singapore. And now Russia has said, because you're working with people outside the country, that is a threat. And a lot of the reasoning here seemed really similar to the story that we did last week or the week before on the NSA contractors. So the U.S. NSA. Some contractors went to work for, the UAE?
And vice versa. Because we had another story about...
And then it was like, you can't sell munitions, and they were in trouble. This seems like that. And this is probably also going to make other Russian IT companies not want to work with any other state agencies.
It's funny because you literally can't go anywhere in the world that won't anger one of the big powers.
Yeah.
So we're really speeding headlong toward that separated internet, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, that's sad. Speaking of separated internet,
Yeah, Russia, it's interesting because, like on one hand, they censor and they control, and on the other hand, they complain about control and censorship.
Russia threatens retaliation after YouTube has deleted the RT Germany account. It was deleted for misinformation about the thing.
Oh yeah. I think there was something else they did though. So they're saying that, hey, you can't do the things that you're doing for China and even for us sometimes, and then do this. It doesn't make any sense. Where do you draw the line? And oh no, there was another story. Did I?
oh, we're all mixed up now.
Oh no, those are two Russian stories. I'm sorry. So yeah, RT has been deleted, and
Deleted.
it's part of YouTube's new rollout, which we'll talk about in the social section.
Oh boy.
Now here's a picture that, you know what, pretty soon this might get you deleted from YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer this has left to be allowed anywhere, but Anonymous, looking to stir up the hornet's nest, and boy did they, decided to post it.
Anonymous posts Taiwan flag and national anthem on China government site. Guys, please don't do this. We need Taiwan in our future if we're going to survive as the human race.
But is this, could this not be something they're doing to try and protect Taiwan? Like, is doing nothing not going to result in bad things for Taiwan?
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, it is kind of kicking the hornet's nest, but also the hornet's nest deserves to be kicked. So
Everybody was really surprised with how aggressively the Hong Kong thing happened, and there was nothing anybody could do.
I mean, there's stuff people could do, but it would escalate very quickly.
What can I do?
Not us, but like world governments could do stuff, but it would be bad stuff.
Yeah, they'd go to war with China.
Yeah,
It's
it's not really a solution, or it's a solution, but maybe causes a lot more problems than it solves.
Well, if you're looking for a replacement for China in terms of industrial output and low-cost stuff, then maybe you're going to have to look for India. But India is also getting past the emerging market phase, and they're being their own power now. And that means that they also get to go after big tech companies.
Google is suing India over its Indian antitrust watchdog for an investigation report leak. So there was an investigation report that the antitrust watchdog did,
Which was truthful.
and
Yeah.
Google helped them, and it had some pretty damning stuff in it, and then that report leaked. And Google was like, that wasn't part of the deal.
So Google was like, How dare you let the world find out this about us? It's weird, though, like, you're suing them in an Indian court, right?
Seems like that wouldn't be very effective.
I don't think they're going to do very good there. Moving on to the robot section, and it's weird to do robots on Mondays, isn't it?
It is.
We didn't have a lot of government news this week. Several new AIs doing interesting things this week. How about a little music?
Beethoven never finished his 10th symphony, but computer scientists just did. Can we teach an AI how to think like Beethoven? This article explains how they
Oh, what a great photo.
looked at how his technique was for putting together the other symphonies and so they built an AI specifically to do this. It wasn't just like, oh, let's just, load this up in TensorFlow and be done. And he did have some notes about his 10th symphony, like what he wanted to do with it a little bit.
I love how when you think of, the classical masters, we think of them as these larger-than-life characters, like men who did things that we can't do anymore. It's just a talent that. But look at this chicken scratch.
And yet, that was enough.
So these kinds of notes were the only thing the AI had. There was also a team of students that did quite a bit of glue behind the scenes. It wasn't just the AI looking at this.
I don't know. This is a lot more to go on than, like, say, Fermat's last theorem.
But if you check out the one tab, you can listen to it. They have it embedded here.
And you should definitely do that because
It seemed like, if you sat me down and you played 10 pieces of Beethoven music, I wouldn't know to pick that one out.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll build an AI to do the Level 1 news automatically after we're gone.
It's all just sad dystopian, but it's all just censored.
But who's
because
the
at that
audience?
point-
Who's the audience for that?
Who's the audience for the Beethoven's 10th Symphony? I don't know. They're pretty loyal. Oh, well, they will all have died too, I guess.
I think there's always going to be a market for Beethoven, right?
The Level 1 news is reduced to just sad trombone noises the entire time.
And then, like, the sound of it being bleeped because it's censored. And this article not available for your country.
Well, that's not the only kind of art that AI can help us with. Although I wonder, did this AI not just make us all a little bit sadder for no reason?
Yeah.
Wouldn't we have been better off with the lie?
Yeah. An AI study suggests that a London gallery has been exhibiting a fake for years. So it's an art forgery. This was, I don't even remember.
Oh, what's the name of this painting, Krista?
I don't know.
It was like Samson and something.
Samson and Delilah.
Delilah, yeah. So
Peter Paul Rubens.
he, the way they did it was pretty awesome. They took a bunch of his work and they zoomed way in on the work to look at like the brush strokes and the paint techniques and stuff like that. So they made a million little samples of the artwork and then fed that to an AI and then made a million little samples of this one and fed it to the AI. The AI was like, this is not the same technique.
A lot of times they'll look at, like, the underpainting as well. And that's a good way to tell if a student did it or if the actual artist did it.
What if he was just feeling crazy that day? He's like, you know what? I'm going to use my left hand.
The AI says it's fake. We must listen to the AI.
Or he was high on opiates or, something.
It was a particularly beautiful spring day and he painted outside.
And he was fighting a bee the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like,
Was that the 1700s? Did we have opiates other than opium yet?
no.
We might have. Probably not.
This really grows on you. The more you drink, the
You've
more
been
it's
drinking
like,
a lot.
You gonna finish that before the end of all 3 news episodes? this
God,
week?
I hope not. Because
That's a lot.
God, that's a lot.
Be all keyed up later. Well, central bankers, I would challenge you to watch a Federal Open Market Committee live stream and not want to kill yourself because it's just so boring and they're wasting all of our time and they're just lying and flowery speech. And if you let a computer look at that, guess what it says?
Bank of Russia's computers, Russia computer says that officials must speak more simply.
But how can we lie effectively by doing that?
How do we confuse people? Hide our meaning if we speak simply.
I wonder what the interest rate is in Russia. I have to look that up later. Well, there's one thing that I know for sure, and that is weather.com gets it wrong a lot. A lot. So many times. We need a better way to predict weather, and maybe, thanks to robots, we now have it.
AI can predict if it will rain in 2 hours' time. Well, I mean, that's not amazing, but that's better than most.
why would you ever use this when you could just look at the cows and see if they're by the fence?
What if you live in a place where there's no cows?
That doesn't exist.
What are New York City people going to do?
To get some cows and just corral them out on the street next to a fence post.
Fill Central Park with cows. Put a camera on them. Amazon had their big day. They were talking about a bunch of stuff. Most of it no one cares about, but a new robot is interesting, is it not? And we now know its name.
Amazon just revealed its first home robot. Here's what it's like to use it.
Astro.
The person internally, like there was an internal report. Are we going to go to that story next?
Yes.
Is that the next story?
But first, we should say that it's $999.
This story isn't a real good story either because it actually has a telescoping camera. It can like make itself really tall.
And so what it does is scopes out your house, and it finds a point in each room which it considers the most visible spot in the room. Like if I stand here, I can see the most of the room. Then it goes to that spot, and it looks and it sees who's in the room, and it tries to learn those people's faces and how they behave and stuff. Then it'll go from room to room to the most visible spot and monitor the home. If it finds a stranger, it'll follow them around.
Oh.
This is what we had a lot of lawsuits about when Korean store owners were doing this to certain people.
I like that they named him Astro because they're like, we had such a lashback to Alexa, which was a real human name. So they picked a name that people wouldn't name their kids.
Do you think that went into it? They probably did discuss that, right?
I bet it was, yeah.
I mean, do we really think that? Okay, let's fast forward this technology 10 or 15 years. Loss prevention in Walmart has a micro drone that is observing you, and it's like, oh, you're stealing something, and of course, it's going to observe certain demographics. Of course it is. And then they place a micro tag. This is just the size of a grain of dust, but it's basically a tracker, so the police can track you down and then deal with the theft or whatever.
It's a better way to do it, actually.
So it's literally going to be here as soon as we have the technology.
Aside from the racial profile.
I was going to say, they can really make sure that you can't exist in public without buying something that way.
Yeah.
So, those are the facts that Amazon has given us about Astro. But we were given more facts about Astro that they did not want to give us.
Leaked documents show how Amazon's Astro robot tracks everything you do. The headline... So the thing that leaked doesn't actually say that in those words, but it does say that. And it says that it doesn't really work as advertised, and it's basically a huge fail. And oh my gosh, the mast thing that extends makes this thing impossible to ship. It also talks about how this can be an accessibility device, like you could check in on your elderly relative and pilot this thing around like a telepresence thing. But the people that talked about how that use case is basically worthless.
And the recognition has bias. What kind of bias? You guessed it, racial. The best kind of bias that seemingly all robots must be cursed with. So yeah, there's probably going to be some more unpleasant headlines. Although you got to think that the Amazon product team sat down and they were like, all right, well,
how can we cover this up?
Well, not even that. How much money are we going to make versus the PR disaster? And it still went to market. So that just goes to show you. I bet that is going to be a hot item this Christmas.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
It's so expensive. I feel like it's not going to be adopted widely yet.
There are only enough parts in the world to make 5.
Right. We're wasting so many chips on this trash.
Of course, I said that about like Alexa and stuff. So I was like, who's going to do that? And lots of people.
Let's make a choice here, guys. Global supply chain choice. Here's our options. We can have 30 more Toyota Camrys or this Astro robot.
Astro, obviously.
What should we do?
Amazon's in a better spot to be able to buy those chips, so I think we know how this is going to go.
And they're probably in a better spot to lobby, right?
Yeah.
Well, IBM, a while back, we actually talked about both the launch and the failure. They had this autonomous boat, and they were like, it's going to do the Mayflower trip all by itself. And it got out, not even past, I don't even think it got into international waters, and one of the engines broke down. And it was like, hey, bro, who's going to fix the engine? Nobody. There's nobody on board.
After the IBM failure of the autonomous boat, it's ready to cross the Atlantic again. They spent some time redesigning and rethinking how this thing might work.
I don't know if I believe it'll make it or not. I think it might not. Also, how great would it be if the Somali pirates got on that boat and they were just like, what's going on here?
There's
Free
no
boat.
one here.
And then they'd start prying off the solar panels. We all have seen a lot of great fiction, and the whole idea that there's Kurzweil, he's going to die before it happens. I'm sad to say. No matter how far he pushes it, he's going to die before it happens. But this is the kind of thing that he's hoping to hold out for.
Samsung hopes to be able to copy-paste, quote-unquote, the brain into 3D chip networks. This picture isn't as good. Samsung actually released a picture of neural tissue growing on the chip. And it was just neurons growing on silicon. And like the neurons could fire and the silicon could monitor it. Samsung is hoping that neurons will somehow be able to deal with this interface and can turn it into a brain-computer interface, and also eventually just replacing the brain with computers without really understanding the mechanism of the brain.
Now that's going to cause you to need about 100 trillion. I don't know. Is that transistors? I don't think it's even transistors. They refer to it as memory units. We are nowhere close to that. We don't have anywhere. I mean, even if we just dedicated one giant building to be Jeff Bezos' brain, I don't think we could do it.
No.
So you can forget it. You and Kurzweil.
This brain just thinks about money all the time.
Yeah, well, he's good at that, isn't he?
Yeah.
He does the. Maybe Jeff Bezos is the only person who actually has access to The Secret. Remember The Secret? Oprah's
Oh.
thing. It's like The Secret was you just think about stuff and it happens.
Yeah, well, see, if you just materialize good things in your life. I was like, I don't think that's true.
Why are all these people thinking about cancer? And today is actually our shortest number of stories for the week, which is weird. We usually don't do that for Monday. And that means that we get the Facebook Marketplace. I actually did a little editorializing. I chose it because nobody else was in here at the time, although one of them had already been taken down.
Oh, bummer.
And I feel like this is definitely weird.
Yeah, antique composite and wood creepy doll body.
It's creepy.
They're selling it for $5. I think it was originally like 10 or 15. And they've since reduced the price.
Look how messed up the fingers are.
I don't understand where this came from.
Some kid obviously enjoyed this a whole lot. And that's why it's so messed up.
It is weird.
It's a complex thing.
I like that they put like measurements and stuff on it too. They're like, here, do you need to know?
Also, look how rustic and nice this backdrop is.
They spent time on this listing. This wasn't like let me just throw this up on Marketplace real quick. I wonder if they tried to sell it on like eBay or something and didn't get any results.
That'd be tough to ship that, wouldn't it?
It would.
You think there's anything that you're not allowed to put in the mail inside of that? Just stuff with asbestos.
It also says the leg feet remnants are, does it say compatible? I can't say if that's compatible or compostable.
Composite.
Oh,
Wow, Krista.
I can't. It's too far away. It's too far away, chat.
The rotted remains of some socks are present.
Great.
High
Quality.
quality. One week we should just do a video where we call some of these people and be like, what's wrong with you?
Just see what we can talk them down to.
Yeah.
So listen, I'll give you $2.50 and the rest of this orange soda. But
People get real pissy about that on Marketplace. They're like, price is firm.
Bologna sandwich? You want a bologna sandwich for it? All right.
How about fried bologna sandwich? That doubles the value.
Also, clicking on this kind of ruined my Marketplace recommendations. So now I have a lot of creepy doll content popping up now.
Great.
Are you interested in this? No. Thanks, though.
Now that I'm looking at it, I see this fold right here. I think that's the sock.
That's the sock remnant.
What kind of elephant sock is that? That's giant.
I don't know. It's weird that it doesn't have a head or full legs.
Truly horrific.
All right. Well, chat, that's it for today. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Woo!
Bye.